with episode 18 of AI GTM Talks. Um, we have a great session lined up for you all today. First, I want to give you a little bit of background on AI GTM Talks. Um, we're pleased to welcome Vijay Damojipurapu, who runs is it Vijay of a consulting organization, Strative?
Yeah,
Welcome,
you can
Vijay.
call it as consulting and advisory. Yes.
Absolutely. So thanks, Vijay, for joining us. I know we have some amazing content lined up for the folks listening and watching. Let me just, give a little bit of context to this series of talks, what it's all about. And then, of course, the rest of the show is going to be all about you, right? And hopefully what you've got to share with us. Folks, AI GTM Talks, we kicked it off, as you can see, a few months ago. We bring on either seasoned AI GTM tech CEOs. They come and do a deep dive into their product or solution area across AI GTM, areas. Either that, or we've been bringing on revenue leaders who are actively investing and trying to make sense of this whole fast-moving, fast-changing landscape of tech and tools and process data. Everything is changing, as we all know. AI is completely transforming go-to-market. Now, that said, what I'm really excited about with Vijay, I know, Vijay, you're going to be doing a lot of hands-on stuff, right, in this entire session, show and tell, walking people through a number of things you do. So the folks who are going to be joining us, if you are an AI or SaaS CEO, I think, Vijay, you have a lot to offer them in the talk. And the other would be if you are a fractional CMO, CRO, revenue leader trying to, optimize your own, scale your own consulting opportunities. I think you have something amazing there to share. And I also know, Vijay, you do work with a lot of, companies, right, mid and large enterprise. With that, let's get started. Vijay, maybe you can do a quick intro and talk about, who do you serve?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the introduction, Mani. Hello, everyone. As Mani introduced me, I'm Vijay Damojipurapu, and I'm the founder of Strative. At Strative, we actually serve like two main audiences. One is what I refer to as track A for your anchoring, if you will. Track A is essentially go-to-market leaders within companies that are doing 10 million in annual revenue and over. So
Mhm.
if you are a marketing or a product leader, this is absolutely for you, especially if you are grappling with a scenario or a situation where you need to figure out how to make AI work more and more for you and your team. This is the session for you. And then there is track B, the second set of audience that we serve at Strative, which is the early stage founders. So companies that are doing anywhere from like 500K in annual revenue to maybe about 5 million or so. The set of challenges are different in that segment. So case in point, an example is typically it's the founder, CEO, or a CMO slash CRO, whoever the co-founder is, taking on the go-to-market aspects. They are juggling with multiple roles, wearing multiple hats across the various aspects around go to market. So if that is you, you got a lot of things going on for you in this next 30-45 minutes, because I'll be sharing a lot of systems that I've held with the early stage as well as the more mature companies. So my sincere advice, and I know you'll get a lot of value from this, is take notes. You'll definitely see a lot of demo and hands-on use case that I'll share. And my hope and my sincere hope is this should shift your thinking and open up your mind and how you can actually leverage AI in your go-to-market.
Okay,
So
sounds good,
that's it.
Vijay. And one thing I wanted to add as we dive deeper is we do have, we will have recordings, right, of this entire episode. It'll be on the on a page on our site. We also, of course, have it on YouTube. And by the way, this entire session is live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And then, by the way, we also do a Spotify, so they'll get an audio version of Vijay
Nice.
and your talk, and I'm sure they'll want to see stuff. But again, they'll have a choice.
Yeah.
So why don't we kick it off with the first question for you, Vijay, which is how has AI changed the way, I know you and I have known each other several years. You've been doing consulting and advisory services for several years. How has it changed, the way you go and run your business, in terms of how's AI changed things for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So here's the thing, right? This is the big aha insight I had about a few months ago. So uh, rewind and go back a few months, or until about few months, and I'm sure a lot of you in the audience can actually relate to this. If you're really, really honest with yourself, and I experienced this firsthand, lot of times, or most of the times, when it comes to go to market, it's not the tactics, or it's not the strategy, or it's not about even the budget. It's very often you. When I say you as a person. And if I shift the lens to me, that was me. I was the bottleneck. And I had several connections. I mean, I did my MBA from Cornell University. I worked at large companies and small companies. So I got a huge network. So network was not the issue for me. Connections, getting connect or getting in touch with people was not the issue for me. And for me, I had vast experience when it comes to like product management, product marketing, even building growth and marketing teams at early stage and mid stage startups. So that is not the issue. Also, it's not the lack of skills, not the lack of connections, and also not the lack of ideas. But more often than not, I was drifting because every week, every day, every month, or every quarter, I used to have, hey, these are the set of goals that I want to accomplish for Strative, and this is what I would want to do for my customer base. But I was struggling, and and I don't know how many of you are familiar with this term drift. And when I say drift in this context, it's essentially, let's say you have a set path that you want to take. In our case, in our context, let's say it's a given day and you have like top 3 or 4 priorities and goals you want to accomplish for that day. As the day progresses, I started noticing that I started drifting away from that set path that I had. So that was the big aha, or the bottleneck. I mean, more than aha, it was the bottleneck moment for me, right? And let me share my screen. I'm assuming I should be able to share my screen. So give me a sec.
Sure.
Uh, let's do a window share. Okay. Are you able to see the screen here, Money and
Yes,
audience? Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So, in fact, what I did is, again, I just want to open up myself and put it out there with the audience. And I'm hoping that someone of your, or maybe many of you will be able to connect with this, right?
Vijay, do
So,
you
this,
mind make expanding this a little bit? I think the font is a little tiny.
yes, makes sense. Okay. How about now?
Yeah, it's better. Yep.
Better? Okay. So,
Yeah.
here are the drift patterns. So, coming back to the point I was making earlier, where I was the bottleneck when it
Right.
comes to my go to market execution and for my customer base. So these are the different drift patterns that I started noticing. And I won't walk through each and every item in this list. But if I take maybe the first one, if I talk about meta work spiral, that's the drift pattern that I start noticing for myself. And for me, my strength is around go to market strategy and thinking in terms of systems.
Mm-hmm.
But what I started noticing over and over as the day progressed for myself is I started gravitating more and more towards my strengths, which means refining and over refining the systems and templates versus actually shipping. So that's a drift pattern. And the cost was no forward motion. But here's the funny part, right? It's ironic. I felt very productive. But when I looked at the KPIs at the end of the week or month, it didn't really move much. So that was a big drift pattern for me. The other one is content perfection. I don't know how many of you can relate to that, I'm sure, especially those in the content world or who are producing content. It's like endless tweaking of that one blog post or a white paper or even a LinkedIn post or pitches or a pitch deck, right? It's endless tweaking. Again, this feels super productive, but if you're not getting it out there and putting it out in the public, the cost for me, I mean, this is a very obvious cost, right? The cost for me was my visibility was low, almost close to zero, and I missed a lot of opportunities. So that's the second type of drift. And just continuing down this path, burnout hero mode. By the way, this was a big one, especially for me. I am solo, and so I had to wear the hat of a product person, a CEO, a finance person, a salesperson, even within sales, like all the way from BDR, SDR to account to fulfilling the contract and then delivering. I had to wear multiple hats, and I burnt out like doing all these roles solo.
Hmm.
So this was another one, a big drift that I observed. So coming back to your earlier question and why we went down this path, money, which is how did AI really help in my
Yep.
business? So this was the thing. I mean, the big aha shift or the shift that really happened was when I started observing or internalizing that chat GPT. I mean, it can be any AI tool for that matter, but for me, it was chat GPT. And I
Hmm.
started seeing chat GPT as not as a search or a query partner or even to generate text, but more as a sounding board,
Got it.
more
No,
as
this
a founder.
this is very interesting, Vijay. I'm curious. Like, if you called out a bunch of things here, uh, did you give any one of these you think was one of the call it your one, two, three in terms of these are probably the three things that really, as you progressed, you unlocked these three, and then suddenly you saw a dramatic change, right?
Yeah, so you actually read my mind. So here is the thing, right? So these are the fixes that I had for the drift patterns. And
Gotcha.
again, this is the thing that I actually was able to solve when I started working and actually seeing ChatGPT as a co-founder or as a sounding board. And I'll be walking through many of these systems in the next
Yeah.
few minutes subsequently. But if I
Yeah.
look at the first drift pattern, which I mentioned, I mean, specifically for me, the metaverse spiral,
Yeah.
the fix or the counter move was I started applying the getting things done. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the getting things done productivity. It's a great book for any of you who have not referred. I would highly advise. So I took the principles of getting things done and
Hmm.
started applying it for myself. Right. So what is the next action that I need to take? Rather than being overwhelmed with, hey, there is this pitch deck or the business case or the content that I need to produce for the client, I started figuring out bucketizing. These are the
Okay.
different things. That's fine. But how do I get to the next action for each track?
Okay.
Okay. So that's the metaverse. That's how I was able to actually solve it. And the
Yeah. Do
AI,
you
the
mind again,
system,
Vijay, making this a little bit bigger for folks watching?
yeah.
So on the screen.
Is this
Go
better?
ahead. Yeah, much better. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you have
Yeah.
the metaverse spiral. You've got your content perfection loop. So
Exactly. The content perfection loop. And this is where I start shipping more and more like email and LinkedIn posts on a weekly basis.
so
Again,
you
I
set a
start,
goal. You set a
yeah,
goal for yourself. Got it.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the thing that I started seeing more and more for myself, and not only for myself, like for the people that I interact with and work with, they can relate to this a lot of times, which is the
Mm-hmm.
shiny strategy syndrome or the
Okay.
shiny object syndrome, right? I mean, especially if you are looking at social media or talking to peers or you have the FOMO factor big on your mind, you always see what is the next big thing that I need to tackle and what is the next cool thing when it comes to go to market.
Hmm.
So that was another one where I started shifting or earlier I used to think, okay, maybe it's the this specific style of LinkedIn content strategy or
Yeah.
this cool headline or
Hmm.
this subject line,
Hmm.
right? It's like really going being scattered. So I shifted from being scattered to actually locking myself into here are the specific things and rituals that I'll do for this week, and let's see, and I'll test it out.
Got it.
Right, so that was a big shift, and I used again the clarity engine checkpoint. The third column is more of what I call as the systems that I started building with ChatGPT, and I'll dive into it a bit more, but
Yeah.
focus on these two, if you will, if you're
Yeah.
reading.
But there's a lot of good stuff here, Vijay. If you don't mind, I just want to go down the list. I think people listening will find it super interesting.
Yeah,
You, invisible ICP. It seems to me that's really about getting more clarity around your own ICP, who you're going after.
absolutely. Right,
Got it.
so when I started the session, when I introduced myself, I said I I serve two main ICPs, or two tracks, like track A and track B. Track A
Right.
are 10 million and over, and track B are the early stage founders.
Yeah.
Versus earlier, I didn't have that kind of clarity within myself. So, which means on a given day, I'm essentially putting out messaging and offers and pitching to any and everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Versus building the clarity actually really helped.
Okay, understood. So next up, you've talked about follow-up freeze,
Yeah.
not following up. So you're saying get on with it. Is that fair to say?
Yes. Follow free says this is the other thing, right? I mean, the again this again comes down to a lack of clarity also, which
Mm,
is you see. I mean, this is very common, especially in like demand gen functions and demand gen teams. They have like a list of 10 or 50 or 100 or even 300 accounts and people that they want to reach out to, and they
mm,
do like an email blast under the
mm,
guise of ABM,
mm.
right? Versus what I started sensing is what is that relevant, like within that list of 100 accounts,
Yeah.
who will be the most engaging and who will be the most relevant audience for the specific solution that I'm providing, right? And
Okay.
then really teasing out the signal.
Mm,
First of all, are they in what kind of signals are they sending out? Will they even really care with about interacting with me? So really
got it.
holding it down to that level.
And when you say signals, what kind of signals are we talking about from that
Yeah,
particular?
in my case, it was, for example, I came to know of an early stage founder who was looking to hire like a head of marketing.
Yeah.
And so that was an example of a signal. So for me, I reached out saying, hey, by the way, do you know I can help you build, or rather, you can actually build out a lot of the early stage go to market functions with just systems versus a
Mm,
full time hire. You don't need to hire someone yet,
got
right?
it.
So that's a signal. So someone who's looking to hire or
Yeah.
someone who recently raised funds, it's a
Yeah.
signal. Someone who, like a company that actually got like a new go to market leader, is another type of signal.
Got it. Where are
Yeah.
you sourcing these signals, Vijay?
Yeah, great question. I mean, so far it's mostly been manual and
Mm,
intentionally been manual because I want to build that muscle for myself. I know
mm,
there are tools out there, a lot of tools out there that
got
I'm
it.
interested in checking out. I know Conzi also builds the signal tracking, and so a lot of quite a few cool tools out there. But coming back to your question, I do it on a manual basis for me right now.
Understood. Gotcha. Then you've talked about over owning execution, tear down avoidance. Can you talk about those?
Yeah, overowning execution, again, it goes back to the whole being a solo wearing multiple hats. I started realizing like there are some aspects even within like sales or even like within content. So for example, let's take one use case. Like I are researching the right accounts, researching the right people, and then adding those details into the CRM.
Got it.
That specific set of tasks within outbound can be delegated.
Right.
It can be delegated to someone, or it can even be given to a AI agent and create.
Got
It
it.
can be created as a workflow. So
Understood.
that's a shift there.
So, I mean, there's a lot in literally in each of these. You're trying to break down what should I really do versus what should I use AI tools to do? What should I
Correct.
delegate down to somebody, a more junior person to do? So
Yeah,
there's a lot of thought you got to put into literally how you spend every minute of every day. Sounds like.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
that was a big aha shift for me, right? Leaning on Chat GPT, in my case, Chat GPT, literally, and started using. I'm going into the next section here. I started using Chat GPT all for all these different use cases,
Okay.
right? And if you will, so money, I'll actually go down those 6 use cases, which will
Yep.
give more clarity, right? So number one is like start using ChatGPT as a strategic thinking partner.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is I've got a lot of ideas within myself, but I want
Mm.
to pressure test it. I want, especially for me as a solo person, I didn't have anyone that I can use as a sounding board on a regular basis. I can
Yep.
reach out to you or a couple of others, but I cannot do that on a regular basis, on a daily basis.
Hmm.
So this was a big unlock for me. So using ChatGPT as a strategic thinking partner.
Yeah.
So as an example, maybe it's a positioning or pricing or building like an offer ladder. Okay,
Yeah.
this is how I'm thinking.
Yeah.
point those loopholes or my blind spots, right?
Got it.
So that's the
Uh,
strategic thinking partner piece.
yeah. Do you mind elaborating on some of these frameworks you've listed there? The LNO, CTD.
Yeah. So the LNO is leverage, neutral, and overhead. So this is more in terms of how you prioritize your different tasks for the day.
Yeah.
So as an example, if I have like a sales meeting versus a meeting with my VA, a virtual assistant. So just taking those two use cases, I know the sales meeting has got higher leverage, which means
Yeah.
I need to spend more, which is the high leverage. I need to put in more effort and time into that versus a meeting with my VA
Yeah.
is they're neutral. I put in one, I get one back. Versus with the
Hmm.
sales meeting, I put in one, typically I should get like a 5 or 10x back.
Correct. Got
So
it.
applying that framework, and it's by the way, it's not CTD, it's actually GTD, getting things done. That's the second
Mm.
type of framework, and then the third is a startup decision tree.
Yeah.
Decision essentially, we are all drowned in plethora of decisions that we need to make, especially founders and go-to-market leaders.
Yeah.
You are bombarded with, hey, there is this budget I need to tackle, or there is this new program or a campaign or a partnership I need to explore on a daily basis. These are just
Yeah.
examples. Which one
Right.
do I need to really work on and how,
Hmm.
right? Versus being drowned in something like, again, applying the whole one-way door and two-way door concept and all that. I can go deeper. Obviously, given this time, I don't want to.
Mm.
It's not the right use of the time as well. But just going back to your question, so these are the different frameworks that I
Yeah.
actually taught ChatGPT and
Oh,
said, hey,
interesting.
these are the frameworks I want to apply.
Mm.
And yet it literally was like a co-founder who I could train
Okay.
and I could talk as a peer.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Please keep going. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the first use case. The
Mm.
second use case is prompt based go-to-market system designer. So again, my biggest learning from partnering with ChatGPT is the more you give, the more you get.
Okay.
So in this case, I actually gave here's the exact specific business case template that I want to use when I'm building a statement of work or pitching to my consulting clients. I
Mm-hmm.
gave that and I gave here are the different things, build a business case document. So it gave like a solid first version draft within a matter of seconds.
Mm.
So really compressing the time frame from like days to like seconds or minutes.
Mm.
That is a big unlock, right? And again, reframing this offer. Again, I did mention about the track A versus track B. How should I think about an offer for a track A versus a track B segment
Yeah.
and audience?
Yeah. And I remember you've talked about this idea of an offer ladder. Maybe you can
Mhm.
get into that at some point about how do you design a series of offers so you can depending on the appetite of the potential client, they can jump in where they are comfortable, right, and get
Yeah,
going.
yeah, absolutely. I don't know if I have that in here yet, but here's what I'll do. I'll actually make it even more interactive. I can go down the list of all these six use cases, but let me do like a back and forth. I know we promised a live demo.
Right.
So here is what I'll do.
Well,
Let's see.
if you don't mind, why don't we run through all these six? Because I think people have an idea now. What do you do in terms of using ChatGPT as a thought partner? You've talked about the GTM systems designer. Can you give us a high level on the next four, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So the next one is a sales copilot next to sales copilot and content repurposing engine. Especially if I look at the content repurposing engine, people are more familiar with that. So I won't spend a whole lot of time in that use case.
Right.
But if I look at the sales copilot, so again, I actually have like a huge swipe and I actually capture all the best practices when it comes to different aspects within sales. And I actually trained ChatGPT on this.
Hmm.
uh, and uh, and when I am preparing for a sales meeting, I actually say, okay, give me like a flow script and also bring up the potential objections that
Hmm.
I should proactively address in the sales meeting.
Yeah.
So that's the sales co-pilot.
Okay.
And then tear down to paid conversion scripts. This is when I do like a quick, like a discovery meeting, and I provide the transcript. Again, I use it as a sounding board, and also it acts as my account executive, if you will, or even like a
Hmm.
sales coach, and say, okay, these are the angles that are the biggest pain points and why this buyer would spend that budget.
Okay.
And that'll help me craft that offer. Okay.
Understood.
Yeah. And then the last two are the workflow architect and delegation. This is more if you are more involved in the delegation aspect
Okay.
of it, or even for that matter, even if you want to outsource some things, something that I mentioned earlier, right? Which is when it comes to outbound, you can delegate a lot of the primary or basic tasks,
Hmm.
but you need to be very, very clear on the instructions that you want to delegate to your virtual assistant or someone on your team.
Hmm.
Example of that is track A. Here is the criteria. We just define that and then give it away.
Hmm.
So those are the things that I actually started building systems around, and I started seeing more and more leverage that I was able to get when I started delegating to the VA. And this last point over here, mapping which tasks to delegate versus where I need to own, and I started using that startup decision tree framework. And again, ChatGPT as my sounding board. Hey, these are the things that need to be done. Break it down into tasks and give me a list of what I should own versus what I can delegate.
Interesting. That is very, very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And the last one is coming back to your earlier ask, right? Offer testing and funnel design.
Hmm.
Um, I say, okay, these are the, so I literally feed the transcripts and segments, not entire transcript. I mean, if you just give like an entire transcript, ChatGPT won't know. You need to be really specific in terms of the prompt or the instruction that you need to give.
Okay.
And then an example can be, hey, extract only those relevant pain points and help build an offer.
Hmm.
And there is a sequence of offer ladder, if you will, right? So what is the smallest action that you want that buyer or the user to take with you so that they start seeing that, hey, Vijay is someone that I can trust more and more and open up to more and more. So that's the offer ladder, what I was referring to earlier. And
Yes.
each one is like a step in the sequence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Vijay, I know we're already 27 minutes in. We have about 45 minutes planned for this to talk
Yes.
today.
Yeah.
Um, what would you like to do? Because I know some of the other things we had teed up for folks to learn from you was, um, yeah, exactly where you're applying AI. I think you've given us a high level on that. You could go dive deeper and actually do a show and tell on one of those. Um, do you want to pick one, maybe a couple, and we dive deep, and then we
Yeah, in
can.
fact, I already picked three. So what I did
Okay.
is, again, I lean on ChatGPT,
Okay.
and I said, "Hey, generate some of the prompts from these use cases," and it actually gave it to me. So what I'll do
Okay.
is actually copy paste this prompt, and you can all see it live,
Okay.
right? So if I look at this scenario, this is the first use case, which is using ChatGPT as a strategic thinking partner. And I said, I'm advising a 10 million ARR SaaS company that struggles with customer expansion.
Yeah.
That's a scenario. And their CMO wants thought leadership, but the CRO is pushing for sales enablement. By the way, this is a hypothetical use case, but a very real, plausible use case.
Yeah.
And I asked ChatGPT to help me frame a business case that unites both goals into a go to market workshop outcome. So that's a service that I offer. So
Right.
if I copy this and let's see, now I need to, there you go. Okay, I know is this good now? Oh, you're not able to see it? Are you able to see the ChatGPT screen or no?
No, no. We are only. I think you may need to switch screens. I think
Yes, let me
the
do a
one you're there.
stop share and switch screen here.
Yeah, we have some messages coming in. People want to know if you can show something live. So, folks, that's
Yeah,
exactly what we're doing now. Yeah, go ahead.
exactly. So that's what I'm actually doing live right now. So I go to
Mhm.
ChatGPT and I actually paste that exact prompt,
Yeah.
and here is what it'll do.
So it's giving you a one-page business case. Unlock
Yes,
expansion. Okay.
the
Sales
problem
teams,
behind the
yes,
problem.
got it.
Okay, the real issue, the solution. Okay, and all these different things. This is what we can co-create,
Hmm.
and the business impact. And by the way, I did mention this point, and I want to emphasize this more and more, which is the more you give, the more you get. In this
Hmm.
case, I actually trained ChatGPT. This is the actual business case template. And I
Oh,
see
I
a
see.
question over there which said, yes, this is a paid ChatGPT version. Yes. And it's a pro, it's like $20 a month. And for me, the value add that I get is literally I get for $20 a month, I'm getting a co founder, I'm getting a sales person, I'm getting a content person, I'm getting a product marketing person, right? I'm getting a virtual assistant. It's like multiple personas on my team for just $20 a month,
Yeah.
right? So, business impact and why it works, what we ask. So, this is the business case document and template that I told ChatGPT. This is exactly how I want it structured, and this is what I want to pitch to my consulting client. And it just built it. You just saw that within a matter of seconds. It
Yeah.
just built this entire business case for me.
Specific to the prompt you put in. That's what we're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's specific to the prompt I put in, and
Yeah.
this is the prompt that I give.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So,
Another
all right.
use case is, let's go back to the second use case that I want to showcase is ChatGPT as a sales co-pilot.
Mm-hmm.
If I look at this, in this case, let me read this out for you. So a buyer just said, I kind of have an idea of what I need. I just want someone to do it for me. And I ask it, help me respond in a way that shifts them towards seeing the value of co-creation, go-to-market workshop versus outsourcing. I don't want to be seen as a vendor. I want to be seen as a partner,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's the scenario. And I just gave this, and this is what it'll come up with. It actually says this is the kind of response that you can actually put out there. I'm just letting the audience read through this or
Right.
skim through this rather. It's tough to read through this, but it
Yeah.
actually comes up with here are the different things,
Yeah. Okay.
right? And it also asks me, and by the way, it knows me so well in terms of the tone and the voice
Hmm.
and how I want to respond. Like I interacted with it as like a co-part, as a human, and
Hmm.
it knows me pretty much and treats me as a human, and then we go back and forth.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So another third use case or example is if I go back to the content repurposing engine,
Yeah.
and I'm going to copy and then paste it here.
Hmm.
So here's a code that I got from one of the sales calls, which is, and this is the nugget that I extracted, right? I think this is the buyer saying, I think we are doing bits and pieces of go to market right, but it's scattered and not aligned.
Hmm.
And now I tell ChatGPT, turn that into a LinkedIn post using, I actually called it as inner bottleneck voice. That's the voice, that's my voice. I actually
Hmm.
gave it a name. So
Okay.
using my brand voice, come up with a hook and a story and a call to action.
Okay.
Okay. And this is what it'll come up with.
Okay.
Yeah. So you just saw three use cases right
Yep.
now.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, understood. So, Vijay, so we've given them examples of how using ChatGPT, how you using it to run your business.
Yep.
Um, so now let's talk about. Give us a sense of your kind of the different AI tools, technologies, other than ChatGPT. Are there others in the mix that we haven't talked about that you're using?
Yeah. So I also use Notion.
Mm.
And then, of course, Google Suite. So I would
Okay.
say these three are my biggest tools. And for
Got
me,
it.
I always believe in being minimalistic and really having clarity around building systems.
Right.
And this is the advice I give to a lot of my consulting clients, the companies that I advise with Track A and Track B, as well the founders and go-to-market leaders, which is, again, going back to the whole um shiny object syndrome. People
Mm.
start hearing the different go-to-market tools and tech stacks. Or in
Mm.
this case, in today's world, it's all the different AI-powered tools
Yeah.
across MarTech or sales tech. They're
Right.
drowned, lost,
Yeah.
right? So for me, I believe in creating systems, and then once I am very clear in the systems and the tasks, I figure out, okay, which are the tools that are out there that can accelerate those subset of tasks for me.
Sure. Sure. Makes sense. And I assume, I mean, LinkedIn Sales Nav is still one of the other tools. You-
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I should have mentioned that. Yes, LinkedIn and LinkedIn Sales Navigator as well. Yes.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
So, folks, so that's your little short list from Vijay. A paid version of ChatGPT and Notion and LinkedIn Sales Nav and G Suite, and you're off and running,
Yeah.
doing a whole lot of magic.
Actually, let me. I would like to add one more, a recent
Okay.
find. I mean, in the last 1 month, this is something that I was wowed by, which is this tool called Gamma,
Yes. In fact,
GAMMA.
yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, I'm not a designer. That's not my core strength. I
Mm,
can make PowerPoint presentations, but I will be drowning in like spending hours and hours,
mm,
and that's not where I want to spend my time. And
sure.
with Gamma, I just give like a, hey, this is the prompt or the
Mm,
slide or the content which I got from ChatGPT. I trained
mm,
ChatGPT and it gave me the content, and I feed it into Gamma, and within a matter of seconds, it gives the different variations. So one
understood.
more to the list.
Uh, Makes sense. Makes sense. I know you introduced us to Gamma, so we've been using it actively in the last few weeks. So um, let's that's your tool set. I get that. Now, um, what has been talk about your learning curve? Like you went from being a Chat GPT newbie to where you are now. What was your process? Because I'm sure many people are going through the exact same thing. Like one thing is to get Chat GPT and access Chat GPT, but a lot of the trick is in the kind of templates and libraries and prompts thingies that you put together. How does one go about getting access to that information? It's almost like the new IP is prompts and
Yeah.
prompt templates. Yeah.
Yeah, great question, Manny. I mean, so for me, I've always been a geek of learning best practices and collecting what's working
Yeah.
in all the aspects around go to market. So
Hmm.
that's what I would say has been the number one. I mean, by the way, thank you for asking that question. I never asked that question myself. So
Yeah.
I'm figuring this out as to how I arrived at this point. So if I look back and the journey, so I would say just collecting, being curious.
Yeah.
And in terms of like go to market, there's so many aspects and collecting all of those. And to your question, I started saying, hey, this is great. I got all these things. And again, going if I go back few months in my timeline, I was down. I was using ChatGPT as a search partner or a content generator. But then I started saying, why not I give this framework, like getting things done framework, and
Right.
see what it does for me.
Okay.
So I actually went down this path on an accident, not on an intentional basis, by the way. It
Yep.
just took me on a natural curve.
Hmm.
It started pulling me more and more into that direction.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So the more I saw, the more value I got, which again, it's like a continuous feedback loop. Okay, this is good. Now let me try this. Let me try this. So pretty
Hmm.
much trying this on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So it was a
So
matter of like over a few months, I got to this point.
interesting, interesting. But is there any one anchor point? Because you see so much of the stuff, right? I mean, I'm a member of a community called Pavilion, and
Yeah.
so I know a lot of information sharing happens there. But if you gotta kind of go from point A to point B in terms of growing your skill set around, you know, by the way, I see a lot of these fractional revenue leader folks and so on, and they are good at what they do. They know a lot of stuff, but then they know what they used to do a year ago or 2 years ago, and they're all trying to get into this AI world. And everybody's trying to figure this out. So, have you seen anything that's kind of prescriptive, saying do this, then do this, then do this? A more prescriptive approach to kind of upgrading your skills in this kind of
Yeah.
AI GTM scheme of things.
Yeah, great question. So again, I would say first and foremost, it depends on how comfortable you are in knowing yourself and in terms of your self-awareness. That's number one. Again, going back to what I shared earlier, which is the drifts.
Hmm.
So going for me, it was identifying the different drifts. What was
Yeah,
really causing me to move away from my daily, weekly goals,
yeah.
and being really honest with yourself. And for that matter, I actually used ChatGPT, and
Hmm.
I actually said, "Hey, this is the goal that I had,
Hmm.
and I was not able to write this content, or it took me 2 or 3 hours to write this content."
Hmm.
And it said, "Okay, by the way, this is a content drift because you're over polishing versus
Yeah.
shipping out." So
Okay.
being you can actually use ChatGPT to learn about your weak spots, blind spots, and your strengths is the
Gotcha.
first thing. The second I would say is go back to your workflows and just pick one workflow. I showed like 6 use cases. In fact, there are a lot more use
Hmm.
cases in how I partner with ChatGPT, but just
Hmm.
pick one.
Hmm.
And as an example, let's say you're tasked with creating content. I'm taking content because that's the most easiest use case a lot of people in the audience can relate to. So let's say you are tasked with creating a unique content piece.
Hmm.
So what I would say is take your company's brand voice. I'm hoping that you actually did your research around your buyer and user,
Hmm.
and then come up with a point of view thesis or a hypothesis
Hmm.
and feed all of that into ChatGPT,
Okay.
and then see the output and use that as a first draft. You cannot just blindly take that output and put it out there.
Hmm.
Now you're starting from a blank page to, hey, you know what? I got like a solid 60, 70% really good version. So
Got
you
it.
got a content person, you got a copywriter, you got a brand person, everything within ChatGPT. And by the way, when I say ChatGPT, you can replace it with any of the AI tools that you're using. But my
Hmm.
point is the AI tool that you're comfortable with.
Gotcha. So I have just got a couple more questions, and then obviously we need to bring this to a close. Um, Biggest challenges you faced integrating AI into your day to day. Anything that jumps out at you? Where was your biggest learning curve, if you will, among all of these tools?
Yeah, I would say a few. One is definitely knowing which model, large
Hmm.
language model to use. That was a big challenge for me. So, an example of that is I had to do some research around a market study that I wanted to do.
Right.
And then OpenAI released deep research mode,
Yes.
right? Until that point, I couldn't get enough out of it. So, just keeping pace with all the changes that are out there is one area that I would call out.
Right.
The second is AI tool will make mistakes,
Yeah.
right? And there'll be frustration points. And in fact, I literally treated it as a human. By the way, you're
Hmm.
BSing me.
Hmm.
Or I actually said it to ChatGPT
Okay.
in my case. You're
Yeah.
BSing. Or by the way, that's crap. That's not what I want, right?
Yeah.
And it says, oh, sorry, you're right. It actually
Yeah.
responds in a human way. You're right. Thank you for pointing my
Hmm.
mistake. And here is what I would suggest as an alternative.
Hmm. Got it. Couple of questions to wrap things up. What are some AI related GTM trends that you see looking into the rest of 2025 and next year?
Yeah. So I would definitely, for me, I'm personally curious in actually using AI agents, and
Hmm.
I'm seeing a lot of that in the client base that I'm working with, or maybe not enough,
Hmm.
but definitely I'm pushing my both track A and track B uh, companies to actually move in that direction. I mean,
So,
first
so
point is
what's the low hanging fruit there? I mean, it's fine. It's fine to talk about AI agents for go to market, but where?
yeah, great question. So again, I would say pick one use case. So in this case, if I look at my 6 use cases, the one that I frequently go back to is like a weekly review system,
Okay.
as an example. If I look at a weekly review system, now I can ask ChatGPT or create an AI agent like, this is what you need to do on Friday at the end of the week.
Hmm.
build a weekly wrap up. This is what you need to do for me on Sunday.
Hmm.
Now, you know my weekly, monthly, quarterly goals. Build
Right.
that for me. And then here is what you need to do in terms of prompting on a day to day basis what my top priorities are and calling out the drifts on a daily basis. I can create
Interesting.
an AI agent around it. In
Okay.
fact,
So
I
you're
want to. It's
literally
just a matter of,
using, got it. You're using ChatGPT and AI agent around the weekly wrapper as a way to keep you on track to say, this is my
yes.
goals for the month. Where am I trending towards my goals for the month? What did I get
Yeah,
done this week? Yeah.
right. And so a lot of the prompts cannot be automated. I don't need to give a prompt to ChatGPT.
Hmm.
So that's the
Okay.
point here. A lot of these things can be automated.
Gotcha. All right. Closing question. If a company, one of your customers, is getting started and trying to introduce AI for any of their GTM motions,
Yeah.
where are you recommending for many of your customers? And again, you can talk about the founder, bucket, and then the 10 million plus bucket. In either bucket, where are you recommending they get going?
Yeah. So here is what I would do, right? So first and foremost, what I would do is, uh, I mean, if you, anyone of you in the audience actually got value out of this, I would say, uh, like, I'm doing a few more of the one-on-one go-to-market teardowns. So I
Hmm.
would definitely say, if you're interested, connect with me, DM, and just message teardown. So that's one option where I can literally do like a quick diagnostic of your current go to market,
Hmm.
come up with the bottlenecks, and identify like one or two areas that you can actually apply AI, either as
Hmm.
a GPT, a prompt, or as an AI agent. So I
Hmm.
can do that. So that's what I would advise.
Gotcha.
And I've been doing this. I mean, a lot of the founders and go to market leaders have been seeing a lot of value
Hmm.
out of these sessions. They go walk back with, hey, these are the exact set of tasks and priorities we need to do for the next 2 to 4 weeks. So that's the big value add for them.
Hmm.
While for me, I get to refine the systems and my thinking and my co-founder partner, in this case, the ChatGPT. So
Got it.
that's like a win-win situation. That's what I would say. That's my
Okay.
advice.
Understood. So let's wrap it up then. I'm going to put up the next slide here. Just, Vijay, how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah. So as I said, find me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. Connect with me and then send a DM. Send a DM, tear down,
Yeah.
or mention this LinkedIn Live Talk, AI GTM Talks, and then happy to go from there.
Sounds good. And folks, for those who want to get in touch with me, again, Quanzu, we focus on signal-based outbound automation tech. Uh, we have a variety of proprietary signals, high quality, high volume signals that many customers use, SMB to mid market. You're welcome to reach out to me, and we partner with tools like Clay and others to get the whole outbound motion going for customers. And so we had Vijay Damojipurapu today. I hope you all enjoyed this episode. Thanks, Vijay. Talk to you later. Bye for
Thank you,
now.
everyone. Yeah. Bye.